It's my pleasure to speak today at LSI. We presented here about a year ago, and we've made tremendous progress since that time. We are Fluid Biomed. We're developing the world's first bio-resorbable neurovascular stent to treat brain aneurysms. Cutting to the chase, we are a VC-backed I take that back. We're now clinical stage, pre-revenue company. We're a startup based in Calgary, Canada. If you've ever had the pleasure of visiting, we have our first in human clinical trial results since last year. And we now have an open strategic-led $20 million round for our Series A with a term sheet in hand. So the founders, myself and my co-founder, we are inventors of the technology as well as KOLs in the domain. I'm co-founder and CEO, John Wong. I'm a neurosurgeon at the University of Calgary, also a professor there. I trained in Canada and at Yale. I also have my MBA from Wharton. My co-founder, fortunate, I've known this gentleman for 25 years now. He was my student, my resident, incredible human being, incredibly talented, also a neurosurgeon that I helped train along the way, but where he deviated from the path was along the way, he actually became a biomedical engineer during his neurosurgery training, having achieved that degree from Harvard. And when we brought him back to Calgary, we came up with an idea, a concept, and we've been able to iterate repeatedly in our university lab to the product that we now have in hand in human patients. So the unmet clinical and market need here is that of a brain aneurysm. An aneurysm is a bubble on a blood vessel, a weakness that's prone to bursting and causing a stroke. If there are 50 people in the room, one of us has an aneurysm that we don't know about. And if it bursts, it's fatal in a third, so it's a terrible, terrible disease. Aneurysms are silent, but they can be treated. But even nowadays, many patients need repeated procedures to fix their aneurysms. The global brain aneurysm device market is already pretty healthy, over $1 billion currently, and likely to double by the end of the decade. Our product is a stent, a mesh tube to treat a blood vessel weakness. Most people are familiar with heart stents, coronary stents. There's a lot of difference between a heart stent and a brain stent. A heart stent is almost now a commodity. A bare metal stent retails for about $400 to $500. Not the case for neurovascular. A neurovascular stent retails for over $14,000 each. This very high ASP really attracts the attention of the major medical device manufacturers. How do we fix aneurysms? Well, on your left there, you see coiling. That's where you go into the aneurysm from the inside, and you deposit these little slinkies, these tiny devices to plug up the aneurysm from the inside, as opposed to flow diverting stents. That's what you see on your right there. That's where you go into the normal blood vessel and place a stent to divert blood flow. That's why it's called a flow diverter. You don't need to go into the weakness. So the stents generally are faster, safer, more cost efficient, and also use less radiation. But there are problems with the existing metal technologies. What is that? Well, after you put in a stent, what's less well advertised is that those metal stents that we have available now don't work all the time. 25 to 40% of patients, the aneurysms are still alive. After that, you can't remove the stent. You can't put coils into it because you're blocked off from the aneurysm. And these deficiencies really lead to higher costs to the system and risk to the patient. So Fluid Biomed has developed Resolve, the world's first polymer-based flow diverting stent. This is a unique hybrid design that really takes advantages of the best of both worlds, the best of polymer, the best of metal, and really allows for revolutionary performance from a doctor's standpoint. So physicians like myself and my co-founder, we go up inside of the blood vessels, under anesthetic, under x-rays, and we gently float these tiny wires that are in tubes into the blood vessels of the brain. There you see a cartoon of an aneurysm. And then we release a stent, a flow diverting stent. Again, diverts blood flow away from the aneurysm and causes blood to clot off and heal inside of the aneurysm. Now this process takes several months to sometimes a few years for the aneurysm to slowly go away and heal over time. As opposed to the existing metal stents, ours is mostly polymer, allowing the aneurysm to heal, leaving very little metal behind. When we look at the survey, the landscape here, our product is very familiar to physicians. Why? Because we use these all the time, the metal stents, and ours is very similar in terms of its user friendliness. But that's where the difference is in. Ours is the only polymer-based product. Polymer is softer than metal, so we can actually shape our stent, fit our stent into many more types of aneurysms than the existing metal stents. We can also use our stents with coils. Those are those devices we talked about before. The current devices are incompatible with coils because you can't go through the stent. Ours you can. Our stent is also visible on CT scans and MRI scans, so now you don't need to do invasive imaging. And the polymer itself is an extremely conducive material for endothelialization. That means blood vessel cells that heal onto and attach onto the stent. We have extensive peer-reviewed research that we publish, and over 100 animals, up to like 4 years now. And this has all culminated in our first-in-human trial. So we're proud to say that since LSI of last year, we have now conducted our first-in-human clinical trial, a feasibility study, where on your left there, the arrow's pointing at an aneurysm. 6 months later, this is a 12-month study, but at 6 months, the aneurysm's already fully healed. And our results look very promising. 2 out of the 2 brain aneurysms have already cured, and the 3rd patient on a humanitarian basis, we're treating a different aneurysm, and that result is still pending. Our IP and tech transfer position is actually also very, very unique. We already have patents issued in Canada, Europe, and Cooley is our IP lawyer and helping us with the USPTO. I'm a university professor at the University of Calgary. We have a unique position with them. What's that? In that they own 5% common shares in my company, dilutable after the first million, no royalty, no licensing agreement. So this really frees us up for conversations with the strategics. We have a great team. We've done all of this with less than a dozen people with the help of a fantastic advisory board. We've been super time and capital efficient. So before 2019, we were kind of a research project. Then we saw the project had legs. We raised our pre-seed round from local friends, family, the university. We got to our animal implantation after prototype development. 2021, we raised $4.7 million from Shanghai Capital, just down the road in Palo Alto, Medis Innovative in Miami. With those funds, we were able to get to our first in-human trial 2 years after seed close, unheard of in our industry overall. So super proud of the team. Where are we at now? We have a $20 million Series A with a term sheet in hand from a very large, one of the most well-respected strategics in the world at this point. What are we going to do with those funds? We're transitioning to the FDA. We have monthly standing meetings with the FDA to define our regulatory path. We're working with our strategic to develop a full commercial line for this very unique product. We will continue to develop our technology to smaller device sizes, grow our engineering team. Again, less than a dozen people now. So I think we can do a lot more if we hire a couple more engineers. We're going to scale up our contract manufacturing, and those use of funds will take us partway through our pivotal trial. What is that pivotal trial? 150 patients, single-arm study, 12-month outcome. So overall, every parent thinks their baby is the most beautiful baby in the world. I'm no different. My startup, I think, is special. We've levered a number of unfair advantages to continue to de-risk the journey. We have a unique device that's familiar to doctors and yet innovative at the same time. We have our first in-human clinical trial data. We have a defined FDA pathway. We have existing reimbursement codes that are already very appealing to companies and physicians and hospital systems. And again, we have a $20 million Series A strategic lead with a term sheet in hand, and we're rounding out the syndicate. So it's my pleasure to speak to you afterwards, whether at the meeting or afterwards, to continue the conversation. Thank you very much.